welcome to The Corner. Once again, MCTV Channel 20 here in Marion brings you our show about Marion and the people in Marion. I'm here tonight with Chris Sprouse and Sarah Cope, and we're going to start off our show in a little different fashion. Normally I'm sitting behind a desk in, as Chris said, David Letterman fashion. But tonight we're just going to do a couple of interviews, and we think you might find them interesting. At least we hope you will. So first, I hope you can figure out which one is Chris and which one is Sarah. We think maybe that might be evident to you. Chris and Sarah are members of the USD 408 School Board. Both have been on for several years, and both have made the decision not to stand for re-election. And we thought that since they are some of those folks who have taken their time and their effort and devoted it back to the community through service on the school board, that we would talk with them just a little bit about their experience as school board members, what they loved, what perhaps they didn't find so great. And if you are thinking about running for a public office of any sort at any time in the future, maybe you'll find some inspiration from these two folks who gave their time and effort to help us all out and help out our kids. And let's start off, ladies first, Sarah, so we'll start with you. We never know who's watching these. These are on MCTV Channel 20, which is broadcast throughout the area in Hillsborough, Lincolnville, the city, the County Lake, and Marion. Also goes on the internet and is available on YouTube and so on. So not everyone knows Sarah Cope. So who is Sarah Cope, and tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, and so on.
Well, I live southeast of Florence on the ranch, and my husband and I have 3 kids, and
ages.
Oh, that's going to make me sound old.
Well, oldest one, middle one, little one.
25, 22, and 20.
Okay.
And
it's hard for me to believe your kids are that old.
Yeah, me too. So, but we've lived here for 18 years now, and it's been a great place to raise our family.
Where were you before you came here?
We were originally in Manhattan.
Okay. And what brought you to this area?
We're originally down from Cassidy and Rosalia, and so we decided it was time to get closer to family.
That makes sense.
And we wanted to raise our kids in a smaller school.
When you were in Manhattan, what were you doing?
My husband worked on the ranch.
Okay. So just brought it,
Yeah.
didn't change careers necessarily, just brought it a
No.
little closer to
Just
family.
came closer to family.
That makes sense. And Chris, how about you? I know a lot of people know you, but I know a little bit about your background. You're doing something very different now than what I knew you originally doing, but tell a little bit about yourself.
I've been in Marion since 1980. My folks used to run Kingfisher's Inn, as most people know. Got a wonderful wife, 3 children, 6 grandchildren, so that keeps us busy now. I love being around them. That's definitely my heart and soul right now is my grandkids and kids, and very active in church. And
You used to be a chef.
I used to be a chef. I'm
Now
a
you're
carpenter.
Carpenter, that's
Yeah.
what I would have called it, but sometimes
Yeah.
some descriptions of things have changed,
Yeah,
so
just-
that's not exactly a normal transition.
Well, in my off days, I worked for Winter Construction for probably 10 years when we had the restaurant. So
Okay.
I've always had a love of woodworking and stuff, and that's kind of how that transition went by. And I don't know. I think you got to love what you're doing, and I love what I'm doing.
Excellent.
And the people I'm working with. And
What now, Chris? How long have you been on the board? When you finish this term, how long will you have been on the board?
12 years.
12 years. Okay,
Yeah.
so 3 terms.
Yeah.
What prompted you to run in the first place?
I've always felt like we're called to serve, and I think that we need to give back to our communities, and I don't know, I've just always had that desire in one respect or another, and I saw a need, and when 12 years ago I thought maybe I could help out a little, and I would hope over 12 years we did there's
Something right.
There was a couple good things in there somewhere, so hopefully. So.
And Sarah, how about you? How long have you been on the board?
12 years.
Okay, so you guys came on together
Yeah,
then.
Yeah.
we did.
So you run as a team?
Well, no, I don't think so.
Did
We are.
Did you really know each other before you came on the board together?
Our kids were in
Yeah.
school together.
Same class,
but
and yeah.
Didn't really. I'd see him when I volunteered up at the elementary school, and that's kind of how I got interested in running for school board. And I'd see Chris up there once in a while, but
Did either of you see something that I mean, sometimes people come on to, whether it's city council, county commission, school board, they have a wrong they want to right or something. Either of you have that
No.
kind of experience?
No, and I've always told people if you're going to run for school board or anything like that, do not run just because you have an agenda.
Mhm.
You gotta have what's best interest of kids, and I
Exactly.
think that's pretty well defined. My 12 years on there, and I think probably Sarah too, is that
Yeah.
I think most of the time we, as a board, we try to decide things on what's best interest of kids, and and a lot of times that rubs people wrong. Sometimes you have to make some tough decisions sometimes, but if you err on the side of kids, I can sleep at night, knowing that, that way.
Yeah.
There wasn't 100% of our decisions were ever right, but I think a good majority of them. I think we had a good cross section, and I think we've had a good board.
I
It's
think
Is there
so,
any,
too.
I'm sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
No, I feel like we've been blessed these 12 years to work with a fantastic board.
Is there anyone that will remain on the board after you two go off that was on when you came on?
No,
Okay,
we're the
so
old timers.
You're the
Yeah,
old timer. I would imagine then that you have, over the course of 12 years, you probably lost some, gained some as you went along. So the committees and boards tend to have personalities, and depending on the makeup. And I assume in that time you've had your board's had multiple personalities. Any that I don't want you to call anybody out. Is that what was great when Joe was there and bad when Louise came on or anything? But during your time, is there a period that you can think of? And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to call you out. But have you found that any one period was more fun or more rewarding than another?
I don't know, because along the way when Chris and I got on, we had the old timers that had been on there for quite a while.
So
and
you were
then
the kids then.
We were the kids. We were the young
Young
ones.
punks.
We were, and it was a great board then. They welcomed us, they taught us a lot, and then along the way, they've gone off and new ones have came on, and the other ones have brought new ideas and, new personalities, and it's been a great board for 12 years. I can't think of a time when it hasn't been a good board, even with the different chemistries and mixes. But the personalities, we seem to all click very well.
Any different thoughts, Chris?
No, I think we've been blessed as a group. I think, I don't know, I can't think of a time of dreading going to a school board meeting or anything. There's definitely been some challenging moments. The governor and the state seem to like to throw us those curveballs every now and then.
That's on my list of things to talk about.
If we wouldn't have had to deal with that several times over the last 7 or 8 years, especially that and declining enrollment, it probably would have been a little bit more enjoyable on a few of those occasions, but very rarely is it have you dreaded going in. At least I have. I just feel like it's been a blessing to be on
I think that's
it.
a big statement. Anyone who's on, I don't care if it's a church board or a community organization, to be able to say that there wasn't a time that I dreaded going to the meeting, especially because when you start talking about people's children, if they get fired up about anything, it may be that. So if you've not had a time where you truly dreaded going to a meeting, I think that says, I'm not sure who it says it to, but it says a lot of good things.
Yeah. We're blessed with a great administration. Our staff at the school is wonderful. The parents and the kids. I think our communities are great. Sure, we differ in opinions on some things, but and in the end, if people know that you're trying to do what's right for kids, they might not like the decision you had to make, but they're gonna respect it in the end. I think for the most part, and I don't know. I think I'm definitely not getting off the board because I'm disgruntled or tired or anything necessarily. I just think there comes a time when turnover's good and you can get fresh ideas and I don't know. I've just loved serving the community, and I look forward to doing it in maybe other fashions down the road. So.
Sarah, you want to weigh in with anything there? Or
I'm
Chris
like-
say it well.
He said it very well, but I'm like Chris, the kids, all of our kids are grown and gone, and I think it's time for some young people with young kids in elementary school to maybe step up and start in the leadership role of boards. And
One other thing I wanted to step on, or touch on, not step on, that Chris kind of, or one of you alluded to is you've gone through some administrations, and I'm not certain my own timetable. Obviously, Lee Liker's the current superintendent, Jerry Henderson before him. Are those the two soups you've had? Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious because I was thinking about that because at least I'll just speak for myself. I feel like Marion has been lucky or fortunate rather than lucky in that those two superintendents, I think, they brought different kinds of things and they came in at different times. I felt like that they provided some real stability and a good leadership. To some extent, it's almost as if Jerry handed off a baton to Lee. I'm curious as to your thoughts on those two folks.
Absolutely. We were on the board for 2 years with Jerry, and then we've been on the board with 10 years with Lee. And Jerry taught me a lot in those first 2 years. That first year we were on was probably the one time I questioned why are we on this board, because the board was great, but that's the first time we had to make a lot of cuts. We kind of got thrown in head first, and that was a pretty tough time, but we had great leadership in Jerry at that point, and we made it through that. And then Lee came aboard, and it's just, we've been blessed.
Yeah.
You know.
Chris?
I couldn't agree more. Our administration has been great, and that's a sign of a lot of times our school board meetings haven't lasted as long as a lot of area ones and stuff like that, where business is conducted pretty quickly and efficiently, and that's a sign of a good administration and a good working relation between them and the board, and we're very fortunate to have the administrators we do and the staff. I tell you, our teaching staff and I mean everybody that works at the school, can't commend enough. They're just wonderful. We have great employees, and I think that's what makes great schools, is when you have good communication between the board and the teachers and the kids, and everybody gets along well. And I don't know, from my perspective on the board, I don't think we could ask for better employees or anything else that way. I think they've been the difference.
Well, you made mention about conducting business efficiently, and that kind of brings us to an appropriate point. We're going to take a break and conduct a little business, and we'll be right back.
Central National Bank, a family and employee-owned company, has been providing Kansans with sound financial advice since 1884. They are dedicated to providing the quality service that makes our customers and the communities they serve successful. In the 21st century, Central National embraces its strong heritage and strives to be the financial resource of choice for the Marion community. A highlight of 2012 was the introduction of the Friend Referral Program. By referring friends to the bank, customers can earn up to $25 per referral. Prairie Land Partners Incorporated is a John Deere agricultural equipment dealership specializing in large ag, turf, and integrated solution products. Prairie Land has 9 stores in south central Kansas and more than 250 employees. Prairie Land maintained a strong business position and has completed a total store remodel in its Winfield location. Continued growth, we will be adding Honda products to our offerings. Also, an expansion of the Marion location is planned. Marion National Bank offers full-service banking. They offer loans for any worthwhile purpose, including agriculture, commercial, consumer, and all types of real estate, including home loans. For the investor, we offer certificates of deposit, individual retirement accounts, and savings accounts. Personal and business checking accounts are available for your daily needs. A Visa check card can be used with all personal transaction accounts. There's an ATM in our entryway for your after-hour cash needs. St. Luke Hospital, providing state-of-the-art healthcare services to meet all your needs. St. Luke was recently remodeled in 2012 to include a new physical therapy area, a new patient care area, as well as a beautiful new entrance. It also has a current CT scanner to provide your scanning needs. St. Luke Hospital, right here at home, right here for you.
We are back on the corner on MCTV Channel 20, back here with Chris Sprouse and Sarah Cope, talking about USD 408, 2 outgoing well, they're outgoing, but they're also going out, school board members. And we've talked a little bit about your tenure, 12 years on the board. Obviously, a lot of changes have occurred in the last 12 years in the school district. I'll start with Chris this time. Chris, if I had to pin you down and say, okay, what would you think of as the most, I don't know, the change that stands out the most, what would your response be
Well,
from the beginning till now?
declining enrollment would be the biggest issue we faced, for sure. You know, our schools dropped over 100 children since the time we started in there, and that's definitely affected budget, and that's affected a lot of things. And but as far as our one of the greatest things that I'd like to see as far as building improvements and stuff is definitely the Sports and Aquatic Center and the auditorium. That was really neat to be a part of that, and with the bond issue and the construction stuff, that really, being in construction, that kind of fascinated me, but it also, just being on the other side of it, I really enjoyed that, and that construction was great to work with, and it was just a neat experience all the way around, you know, that way.
Sarah, Chris may have kind of stolen your thunder there,
did.
but well, is there, let's take aside the I mean, declining enrollment in terms of a big challenge, and the improvement in the buildings and so on. Let's take those off the table. Is there another thing that you think of that is kind of a big change in your mind?
I think probably one of the biggest changes is just that the quality of staff we have. Not that we've never had a good quality of staff, but we were just chosen to be one of the top schools in the nation.
Right.
And that tells you that USD 408 is in the right direction. And we have a great group of administrators and faculty and staff that have made that possible. Even in the budget challenges that have gone on, they have gone above and beyond and worked with less resources.
Actually, I didn't think to include that in my notes, and I can't believe I didn't, because that's a big deal.
It's really
The
big
fact that
deal.
and I know what you're saying, not any kind of a put down of prior staffs. I mean,
Exactly.
my kids all went here too before yours, and I never once felt like it wasn't a quality school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we gave ourselves enough credit for the school we had,
Yes.
but now the school we have, Newsweek has recognized the Marion High School as one of the top schools in the nation. It's kind of an outstanding thing.
It's wonderful.
And as you said, I don't think you can get too, I mean, there's other things that go into it, leadership, et cetera, school board, superintendent, but ultimately probably comes down to the teachers in the classroom.
It
Exactly.
What prompted you to run for school board initially? Was it the pay?
does. Yeah. That was
And
it.
I think I'm right on this. There is no pay.
There is no pay.
I've always wondered, you know, if you run for county commission, and depending on where you are, I think probably the lowest I've heard of is like $1,000 a month, and up from there, depending on where you are. Even city council gets, I don't know, $50 a meeting or something like that. School board gets the big goose egg.
Yes.
We'd be visiting you on a professional basis if we took any money for
I think what made me run for school board was that I was volunteering up at the elementary school and subbing as a teacher's aide and a para. And just, I was just so impressed with the district that we hadn't been here very long at that point, and I just wanted to be able to give something back.
Now, school board meets every other week?
once a month.
Oh, it's only once
Yeah.
a month. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that shows my ignorance. And those meetings, general, and I am kind of doing this, guys, in terms of if somebody happens to watch this, and you know, I'm not talking about this election, but down the road sometime. When you go to a meeting, how long do they generally run?
Ours average probably two and a half hours, give or take, in there, and I think that's probably on the thin side for a lot of districts. That we're probably a little quicker than some of them.
Pretty
but-
impressive considering you're talking about a multi-million-dollar business meeting, then you're the board of directors, so to speak, as I throw my pen at you, and you're meeting once a month and you're getting business done in that period of time. That's impressive.
Well, there's a lot that goes on, you know, ahead of the meeting, getting it ready and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think we're very fortunate to have the administrators we do. Lee does a great job of getting us ready, you know, sending things out so we can be thinking about things ahead of time. So it's not that you go in loaded with where you're at, but you get all the background that is available at the time, and then you can come in there and you can make a decision.
You're
you know,
informed before you go in.
Right, you know,
Okay.
you're just not blindsided, because he makes sure that, you know, that doesn't happen, and you know, your good administrators will do that. And
Yes.
Lee does a wonderful job of preparing us for, you know, what's out there, and giving us all the advice or all the facts and figures we need and stuff. So
Putting aside things like declining enrollment or a construction project, just what is the hardest part of being a school board member? We'll start with you this time, Sarah.
Knowing that sometimes you have to make decisions that are going to affect kids in sometimes a negative way. And I mean that with the budgets, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's not easy. And you know that, I mean, there's been times when we've had to cut programs. And when you cut the programs, you hurt the students. But unfortunately, we had no choice. And to me, that's the hardest part, because I got on the board to maybe help better our future kids. And in some instances, we've had to cut programs that have hurt our kids.
Do you agree, or you have anything else
no,
in mind?
I would echo those statements, but I think another time that, well, with being the president of the board for several years, there's a lot of times my name's out there maybe a little ahead of some of the others, and not because of anything, but it's just the title I have.
Mhm.
And hard conversations have been when we've had to let staff go, and you're unable to visit with them about it because of confidentiality things and different things like that. But you know, when they on the phone or in person and crying, and you know, we go to church together. I thought we were friends, and we had to let somebody go, or we had to cut programs or whatever else. And well, that's tough to remove yourself out of that friendship or whatever else and do what's best for the school system. But sometimes that isn't what's best for a relationship or whatever else, and that's really hard.
Which I think
So-
is, I mean, you've nailed it, both of you, with the heart of public service. When you get on a volunteer board, or even if it's not volunteer, even if there's some kind of slight compensation, but you are just being on a community, like city council is a good, you know, example too. You're just opening yourself up for hurting feelings, and
Yes.
either you're going to do what you think's right, or you're going to do what's going to make the least amount of waves. And making the least amount of waves is not what you're there for.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, tough stuff. Okay, we'll move on a little bit. What's the most rewarding part? We'll start with you this time.
For me, graduation, when I get to help hand out, and Sarah's helped hand them
Yeah.
out, and a lot of us have, but when we hand those diplomas out on graduation day, that's pretty awesome. You know, that we had in my opinion, we have a very small role in that progression across the stage, you know, but I can imagine the satisfaction that our staff and administrators have. And I mean, we do some budgetary things, but they do the meat and potatoes of it. You know, they really do. But that's a really rewarding thing to be able to give those kids and see that sense of completion on them.
Yeah.
I think.
Can you come up with anything? I kind of envisioned that would be the answer, but I didn't know anything else you can think of.
I think just seeing our test scores.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, just like I'll reiterate that being one of the top schools in the nation, that's pretty rewarding. And like, I agree with Chris, we just have an itty bitty part in that. We're just able to say we were part of the board when they
Yeah.
were part of that, but it's the faculty and staff. But I mean, stuff like that just makes you pretty proud to be on the
Definitely.
board like this.
Definitely.
Is there a decision during your term that you'd like to revisit? Something you, not necessarily made a mistake, but yet looking back, maybe you'd have done it a little different? The agreement to come here tonight?
Let's see.
That may not be. May not be.
Just in general, the situation with the budget.
Yeah.
I wish we wouldn't have had to go through that, because I think we could even be at a better spot maybe than what we are right now. I mean, I
Well,
think
let's talk about that a little bit, Chris. You know, we have a situation where, and I don't want to take this into any partisan politics things or anything like that, but let's face it, there are some real issues with regard to what's going on in Topeka and how it's impacting on school districts, particularly rural school districts. And I'm not in any position to know where Marion's positioned as compared to some other district around, but what's your thoughts on the whole financing of education thing? Either one of you, whoever wants to
It's
dive in
scary.
there.
It's
Dreary?
very scary. It's scary.
Scary. Okay.
You know, I get so frustrated because I know that everything needs cut across the state, but they're cutting the future because without education, without good quality education, what kind of future do we have? And that's the hardest part for me because that's out of our control.
I personally, I think if Topeka, it's obvious Topeka doesn't have as much money as they need. It's obvious across the board. If they're not going to be able to fund it the way they really should, I think the unfunded mandate should leave, and they should say, this is what you have, this is what we expect, and let us operate. Because I have no doubt that our school district could operate very efficiently, and we could do a great job. But there's a lot of things that our hands are tied, and we have to put money towards that. Maybe in our local district we could do a little better job of, but we have to do it a certain way. Or
More
whatever.
local control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Yes.
if we're going to get less money, give us more control and let it work. So
Last couple questions. Your thoughts, future of MHS? We're on a slow and steady decline. Is there any reason to think otherwise? I mean, right now, you may have declining enrollment, but you've got great test scores and an award-winning school.
Mhm.
What do you think?
I think that Marion's going to hopefully be moving on its way back up because I think the word's going to get out there about what a great district it is and that we are one of the top schools and our facilities. And to me, it's just a great draw. And I think more people are going to be wanting to get out of large towns.
I think a lot of people do see our
And-
school as one of the jewels in why you would try to tell somebody to
Yes.
move here.
Yes.
Chris,
So-
thoughts?
I would agree totally on that. I think that we epitomize the small town living, and we've got great schools, we've got great parks, there's a lot of great things happening in our community and communities, in Florence too. But I think it's a great opportunity for people moving in. I think it's a great. I think sometimes when we're in the middle of it, we don't appreciate it, and I
Right.
think. And I think there's a lot to be proud of and a lot to be very appreciative of here. And
Well
there's a lot
said.
of great things, happening in our community, I believe.
Last thing, I'm going to go to you individually on this. Someone's going to replace you, and if not you, then some other board members will go off next election. If they came up to you and said, "Thinking about running for school board. If I get on, what do you think? What advice would you give them, or thoughts would you give them?"
Be open-minded because I know I didn't realize everything that was put into the board and that you have to sometimes make decisions that people on the outside don't realize the whole situation. So just be open-minded and just do it for the kids.
A quote kind of comes to mind for me. I read it the other day. It is a man's past is his history. His future, or his what he leaves behind and what he grows is his legacy. And I think that the board, in general, I think there's a great legacy there within the school board, and that I think there's a foundation that's for success that's been laid by many people far ahead of us, and then we've just kind of tried to help carry the torch, I guess, or whatever. But I think you can. The future's bright here, and I think that just like Sarah said, keep an open mind and do what's best for kids.
And you guys both said earlier, don't come on with an agenda.
Right.
Exactly.
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 Well, we want to thank Chris Sprouse and Sarah Cope. I think everyone would acknowledge them as having had very successful tenures on the Board of Education, and we had an opportunity to wrangle them in here, so we wanted to give you a chance to. If you don't know Chris and Sarah, you know a little bit more about them now. And if you have any interest in getting involved in school board, any place, anywhere, I'm sure they'd be happy to talk with you about it, although they've already given you all the advice they possibly could. We'd ask you to stay tuned after this break. We'll be right back with our Roger Holter and another interview on The Corner.
Huey Real Estate is a full-service real estate agency specializing in residential real estate in the Marion County area. Huey Real Estate lists and sells the majority of real estate in the immediate Marion area. In fact, they sell the majority of Marion real estate listed by other companies as well. They also serve the surrounding communities in the county, including Marion County Lake, Hillsborough, Peabody, Lincolnville, and Florence. Case & Son Insurance is the oldest continuous business in Marion County and may be the oldest continuous family-run business in the state. The current owner is the 5th generation of the Case family to run the business, and there's never been any ownership outside the Case family. They are an independent agent representing many companies and offer a full line of property casualty insurance, including home, auto, farm, business, and life. They also specialize in bonds.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the latest edition of The Corner. We're here today with Miss Ashley Gann, who is the Executive Director of FACT. So, first question, what is FACT?
Well, Families and Communities Together, also known as FACT, is a local nonprofit organization serving all of Marion County and the 5 school districts. We are primarily funded by grants, but we do receive local support from the school districts and also from the county, as well as donations from churches, civic groups, and individuals. Basically, we write grants to meet needs in the county and to fund programs. I messed up, sorry. Basically, we write grants to meet needs in the county by funding programs. We work diligently to serve families and strengthen communities with a vision that all children live, learn, and grow in safe, healthy homes, communities, and schools.
Very good. Recently, I've had the privilege of interacting with a few of your programs. And I was wondering, would you mind highlighting a few of those programs for our audience today?
Sure. I'll start with the Coordinated Early Childhood Health Initiative, which we refer to as CECHI. This is funded by an early childhood block grant by the This is funded by an early childhood block grant from the Kansas Children's Cabinet. And with this grant, we are able to provide early childhood mental health services in preschools, as well as provide support to Marion County child care providers. Until this year, we were able to provide more services, which included funding for parents as teachers, as well as operate a preschool scholarship program. In 2015, this grant was cut by 50%, but we are actually working right now to have a fundraiser for the preschool scholarship program that will be taking place this summer because we feel that program is a vital component of our mission at FACT.
Very much so.
Would you like me to go on with my program?
Absolutely. You know, your fundraiser is an exciting event. It'll run parallel to some of the Chingawassa events here in the city, and we're pleased to have that partnership beginning.
Great. We are pleased to, and we thank you so much for the support. Another program is we have a federal grant focused on the prevention of underage drinking. After receiving this grant, we formed a coalition referred to as the Marion County Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition. Members include school counselors and administrators, law enforcement, mental health professionals, youth from local SAD chapters, which is Students Against Destructive Decisions throughout the county, court services employees, faith-based volunteers, and we also have a parent. We still need a business owner to join the coalition as of right now. We also have the Family Financial Assistance Network. We provide payments for utilities, rent, or other necessary bills. The only requirements are that families must reside in Marion County and they also have to have school-aged children in the home. We help with up to $100 in a 12-month period, And we are very thankful for the continued support for the local community foundations who provide funding for these programs as well.
We really appreciate the coordination with throughout the entire county, the ministerial alliances, both in Hillsborough, Main Street Ministries. It's just a phenomenal cooperative effort that you're heading up, and we appreciate that.
Right, and we are always referring to the ministerial alliances as well as receiving referrals from them. So thank you for that. Another program is Circles Marion County, which also falls under the FACT umbrella and focuses on helping families make the journey out of poverty. We do this by putting those families through a leadership training, and once they've completed the training, then they are paired with allies, which is basically an intentional friendship with community members who are in the middle and upper class.
Well, and I have to congratulate you on that one. You just had another class graduate.
Right.
And anyone in the community, there's always spots for allies available. Just get in touch with Ashley or contact anyone at the Presbyterian Church in Marion.
Right, we're always looking for volunteers, which I'll talk a little more about in a minute for that.
Very good.
Another small thing that we do, I mean, it's not a small thing, but another thing we do is we also offer free parent classes throughout the county. We've received a grant from the Central Kansas Community Foundation for the last 3 years to be able to provide these classes for free. And basically what this is doing is meeting the Strengthening Families component of our mission at FACT.
Very good. You know, the organization that you head up has over 30 years experience in our county. Could you share a little bit of the insights regarding the interagency and the or additional on the early childhood task force initiatives?
Right. We have a 30-year history of the interagency efforts and have just recently combined interagency and the early childhood task force just for the sake of time. We had some of the same members coming to both meetings. But the task force is made up of early childhood professionals throughout the county, including staff from early intervention, Head Start, preschools, parents as teachers, We Care Marion County, the health department, and early childhood mental health. We also have a parent of a young child on the task force. Any other sector is invited to attend. We always meet the first Tuesday of the month at noon, and we rotate between Hillsborough and Marion. And basically we meet monthly to network and to provide a continuum of services to families without duplication of services.
Very good. You handle so many programs and you're connecting and creating the collaboration. For a lot of our viewers, it would sound similar to United Way. So could you expound upon the similarities as well as the differences?
Right. We are similar in the collaborative cooperation and communications. We are also the central point of contact for many clients for resource and referral. One difference is that we only provide services to families with school-aged children in the home. When families come to us without children, we refer them on to their local ministerial alliance or to the Marion County Salvation Army. Since Marion County does not have a United Way, when families call the United Way number, which is 211, in an emergency situation, those calls are directly transferred to FACT. And then, like I said, we're the central point for resource and referral.
Yeah, and even though it doesn't fall directly under, I appreciate the referrals for the seniors in our community. You ensure that they get in touch with someone to help them with their immediate needs. So,
Right.
Great organization that you're heading up. You know, what can the community do to support your efforts?
There's lots of things the community can do, but some specific things are they can help by joining one of our coalitions, basically volunteering their time to do so. Circles is always looking for volunteers, as we said earlier, volunteers to become allies to support those families who are making the journey out of poverty, as well as serve meals. Groups can serve meals on the Thursday nights that the circle leaders are going through their classes. We're always looking for ways to get the word out about FACT, so if groups want to host a presentation, we would be happy to do that. as well as a poverty simulation. We just purchased a poverty simulation kit, and we're going to be able to put on the poverty simulations for several groups throughout the county. We're looking forward to doing our first one soon. Also, people could always donate to a fund near and dear to their heart that falls under the FACT umbrella.
Well, very good. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today to come visit with us, let us know about the programs, and on behalf of the city and the entire county, thank you very much for all your efforts.
Thank you so much for your
Truly
time,
appreciate
Roger.
it.